Buenas and Hafade Todosamdu. This hearing by the Committee on Innovation and Economic, Workforce and Youth Development is called to order. It is now 9:03 a.m. for the record, and in accordance with 5 GCA Chapter 8, subsection 8107, public hearing notices were sent on Friday, March 31st, 2017, adhering to the 5-day notice, and a second public notice, on Wednesday, April 5th, 48 hours prior. In addition, this hearing was noticed on the Legislature's website, www.GuamLegislature.com. Written testimonies may be submitted by emailing Senator Bisco Lee at GuamLegislature.org, or you may hand deliver to our office at 163 Chalan Santo Papa in Hagåtña, Guam. Thank you. Joining me here this morning are, on my left, Senator Frank Uggan, and on my right, Senator Will Castro. I'd like to thank my colleagues for joining me. First will be the nomination of Ms. Gia Ramos to the Guam Economic Development Authority Board. Second on our agenda, we will have the public hearing for Bill 31-34, and to wrap up, third on our agenda is appointment for William McDonald to the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Okay, so we'll go ahead and proceed. At this time, I'd like to call the first panel of individuals who've signed up to testify on behalf of Ms. Gia Ramos. So when I call your name, please come forward and be seated. Maurice Sayama, Ron Ramos, and then we'll have Ms. Gia Ramos once they've completed. I'd also like to just make mention that the committee has received written testimony submitted by Attorney Cesar Cabot with Cabot Metanonia in favor of Ms. Gia Ramos to serve on the board, Dr. James Stadler with FHP, also in favor of Ms. Gia Ramos, Registered Nurse Glynis Almonte, also in favor of Ms. Gia Ramos, Grace Hebert, also in support of the appointment of Ms. Gia Ramos, Lynn Manalo, Vice President and Private Banking Officer with First Hawaiian Bank, also in favor, Lola Leon Guerrero, and lastly, Maurice Sayama, who will also give oral testimony. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'd also like to recognize beside Senator Uggan, Vice Speaker Therese Terlahi, and Senator Dennis Rodriguez. Mr. Sayama, please begin. And if you could just press the button down, there you go. When it lights up, you're good to go.
Thank you and good morning. And this is probably my first time I've done this kind of thing in almost a couple of years since I've retired, but it's a good feeling to kind of get back into some of these things, especially for so important. Anyway, buenas and hafade, honorable senators, Senator Lee, chairperson, and members of the Committee on Innovation and Economic, Workforce and Youth Development. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Maurice Sayama, and I am here to endorse the nomination of Ms. Gia Stella Blancaflor Ramos to serve as a member of the Guam Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. My family and I have known Gia for many years and have spent numerous occasions with Gia and her family. Most recently, she mentioned that the Governor of Guam, the Honorable Eddie Bazacavo, was considering her for the nomination for this board. As we further spoke, the question arose of why she would want to pursue such a position, knowing that she was already very busy tending to her own demanding business endeavors and personal life. Without hesitation, Gia stated that she wanted to take time out of her busy schedule to better serve the people of Guam in a different capacity and to give back to our island, the community she genuinely loves. It is truly like Gia to give what she can of herself to improve Guam. She added that she was sincerely honored that she was being considered for the position. Her desire to serve the people of Guam is truly admirable and is a vital attribute to possess for anyone considering work in public service. Her altruistic spirit can be witnessed by her involvement in community events and other noteworthy charitable organizations. As one who served this government and the United States Armed Forces, I know firsthand the importance of an individual's aspiration to serve. I have come across individuals who lack this attribute and the negative effect it has on government service. It is my opinion that Gia's appointment to serve on this board would reap positive benefits for the government of Guam. Firsthand interactions with my family and I have had with Gia allow me some latitude to vouch for her character and believe that her integrity and work ethic will be a great addition to the Board of Directors of the Guam Economic Development Authority. I have the deepest personal and professional respect for Gia, who has my highest endorsement. She is a well-respected member of this community who possesses a genuine aspiration to serve the people of Guam in this capacity. It is for these reasons that I wholeheartedly support the nomination of Gia and ask the Committee on Innovation and Economic Workforce and Youth Development vote to confirm the nomination of Ms. Gia Stella Blankenfleur Ramos to serve as a member of the Guam Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. Sincerely, myself, retired Police Colonel, Guam Police Department, and retired Chief Master Sergeant, the United States Air Force Reserves. Thank you.
At this time, if any of my colleagues have any questions for Colonel Sayama? Anybody? Thank you so much for your testimony. And also at this time, I'd like to call Ms. Gia Ramos. Buenas and good morning. If you could just press the button down when it lights up, then your mic is live. Thank you, Gia.
Oh, okay. Buenas and half a day, Senator Lee and Senator Rodriguez, Senator Castro, Senator Agan, and Senator Terlahi. Thank you for having me this morning. I wanted to thank all of you for this opportunity to present my testimony in support of my appointment as board member for the Guam Economic Development Authority. My name is Gia Blankenfleur Ramos. I am the fourth child of 8 children of Samuel and Alice Blankenfleur. My father was an immigrant to Guam in 1968. He was an electrical engineer, and my mother was a public school teacher for many years. They both worked here for over 30 years and retired in Guam. I am a proud student of our public school system from 4th grade to 9th grade, and proud student of our Catholic school, Academy of Our Lady of Guam. Right after high school, I attended the University of Guam and graduated from our nursing school. I graduated then with an associate's degree in nursing in '79, and shortly after I worked at the hospital, Guam Memorial Hospital, but left later for educational purposes and worked in Oregon as a nurse for about 1.5 years. After giving birth to my first child, we returned to Guam in 1982, and I went back to work at GMH in the telemetry unit, as well as back to school to obtain my bachelor's degree in nursing. I went back to school and worked at the same time after raising my first child, and I was one of the first 2 graduates of the the first UOG Bachelor's Nursing Program in '85. After graduation, I continued working with GMH. I then worked at FHP Clinic as a Quality Assurance Utilization Manager for 7 years while trying to also maintain my part-time work at Guam Memorial Hospital at the time, and also serving as a member in the Guam Board of Nurse Examiners. During that time, after spending so many years at GMH and also in the private sector, I realized that I wanted to try and venture into my own business. Having 2 children already at the time, I felt that I wanted to spend more time with them. That was really my primary reason. I loved being a mother and considered that my priority. But of course, I also loved my career and needed to continue to help support our family. During my years with FHP and also at GMH, I realized that there were so many needs that our community needed healthcare-wise. We were constantly frustrated with the available resources in the community, and thus came about the opening of my medical equipment company. It used to be where patients would go home with oxygen tanks in their home, and those are quite dangerous to transport from island equipment back then to their homes. So I was able to search and bring about the oxygen concentrators, which then made it safer for patients to transport at home. These were just one of the things that I had brought on island at the time and started my small business. I opened healthcare specialties and later other related businesses such as home health care. Only because while being in the field, I found that there are people that needing nursing services at home. So it's also one of the things that I started to open. While operating the businesses in Guam, people have also contacted me and wanted the same services offered in Saipan. So since then, I believe it was 1992 to 1996 that I also provided the services in Saipan. I've seen other services that are still needed on island, and just to name a few, we still lack services for our elderly. Our baby boomers are aging and having to take care of our aging parents. We are at this age where we're not just taking care of our children, we're taking care of our elder parents. And I felt that now is the time to look for opportunities to expand services for them by bringing in programs and services for the elderly. With our current infrastructure and current services, our government will continue to have a difficult time sustaining current costs with limited services. We can mirror other communities that already have successful programs for the elderly and have them available in Guam. These will create additional services and jobs. It can also either bring investors in our island or create entrepreneurs locally. We can look at other needs to improve overall healthcare in our island. As we age, we want to be able to continue to stay and live in Guam, but we are going to need help medically. We shouldn't have to have our parents go off island because they have better services outside or in the States for the elderly. We should be able to retain them here. And this is why I feel that we need to expand in our healthcare, and I feel that GEDA is the proper agency that can also promote that. GEDA wants to promote economic growth. Healthcare services can create jobs. GEDA wants to preserve our culture, keeping our families in Guam and not have to leave island because we don't have the needed services on island is preserving our culture. Respect and care of our elderly and keeping our families together is preserving our culture. GEDA wants to stimulate innovation and create sustainable economic opportunities for outside investors as well as local investors. We are all going to age and need assistance. Healthcare services to the elderly and the sick can be a sustainable service. Because we are the closest U.S. soil in Asia, we can also look at possibilities of medical tourism with the aging Asian population to utilize our services. Lastly, GEDA wants to continue to improve quality life for our people, providing additional services available in our community, creating jobs, creating additional training programs in healthcare to educate our locals. These will have ripple effects which can all lead to improving our people's quality of life. Guam is my home and want to see it grow and prosper for our children and future generations. But let's also not forget our commitment to our elderly. These services and programs don't have to be a burden to our community's financial resources. It is the current situation that we are in that will be difficult to sustain. With new ideas such as community-based programs, we can find ways to possibly reduce costs of care per elderly and can afford to expand services. New programs can also create jobs. We can create training opportunities in healthcare so we can expand services. We can't seem to produce enough nurses on island. We know that has been a dilemma. I also see a need for private nursing school to supplement our University of Guam. This will create jobs. I am just a small business owner, have worn different hats to grow our business, and at the same time raised 4 children whom I hope can someday also give back to our community in some way. I have encountered numerous challenges in life and business, and have seen many encounter health and life challenges firsthand. I try to keep my pulse in our economy, and although my businesses are primarily in healthcare, I have also been exposed with other services. I've worked both in government and public sector in the community for many years, and I feel that my business experience can also extend to help support other GEDA initiatives or projects or programs. In establishing businesses, I've faced not only roadblocks, but also negative and no's, which I have overcome. And I feel that the skills that I've learned throughout the years in overcoming challenges can also help with our GEDA, what GEDA wants to do and wants to put together for the island. I am honored to have been asked to serve in our GEDA board and to be here in front of you today to seek your approval. I believe that this is a good way for me to give back with the opportunity to share my thoughts, vision, and experience to help continue to build our island community. GEDA has done a great job in the last years as I've seen growth in business and services on island. I would be excited and honored to be part of a dynamic group with creative and innovative ideas to continue to build Guam's economy, culture of family, and improve overall quality of life in our community. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I wanted to also thank those who have taken the time to come here and share the support for me and also have written the support for me.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. I will give my colleagues an opportunity to ask some questions, but before I do so, I just wanted to, while I was looking through some of the written testimony that was submitted on your behalf, I was able to highlight a few sentences from a number of the people that submitted, so I just wanted to read those into the record as well. They spoke about your tremendous level of integrity, honesty, and that you're a person of good moral character, that you are entrepreneurial and you have leadership talents, that you can bring to the board. And Grace Hebert also said that GEDA has the ability to see untapped opportunities and understands the challenges that may arise in new markets. She believes that you'll help GEDA in fulfilling its mission, which is to develop a sound and sustainable economy through innovative programs that preserve and provide local culture, economic opportunities, and quality of life for our people. The same vision, focus, and passion that have made you an accomplished entrepreneur will also make you a valuable board member. And in the limited time that we were able to spend together earlier this week, I also felt that passion. I felt in all of the questions that I asked you during our meeting, you were equal to the task. You were prepared to answer them. So I'd like to give my colleagues an opportunity to ask questions at this time. Vice Speaker Chalahi?
Good morning, Gia.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you, Maurice, for your testimony also. Gia, I think, the testimony submitted, there were quite several written testimony, and and your testimony today, and just what we know of you from your work already in the community. I want to thank you for all of that, and I think you will be a good person for this board, but I would like on the record to just confirm some things, if that's okay with you. You recognize that GEDA has tremendous responsibility, and stimulating Guam's economic growth, that's its most important job, and one that we are all relying on. Every segment of our community is relying on GEDA for that, and so I admire your proven innovation in bringing services to Guam for patients and your desire to bring it for the elderly, and I think that I agree with you. That's very needed right now. So I hope you'll be able to pursue that more. After this nomination, of course, comes from the governor and our confirmation here with the senators. But after this, I'm hoping that you will be firm in standing on your own and withstanding all political pressure that's going to come your way. GEDA's huge, and GEDA it has a lot of things that it is responsible for, and there's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, that comes to the members of the board, both politically and from your business associates, perhaps, and friends. We all have the same issues, where we've got longstanding friends who might want things one way, and you're just going to have to, stand and make those decisions on your own. And we have boards on Guam that we are looking at now that perhaps think they don't have to follow the law, and we want to make sure that anybody that we confirm, from on our watch is absolutely committed to following the law. No matter what kind of advice you get, you're going to have to make that decision on your own. The decisions are yours. You're the board member. The decision will be yours. So, yes, it's. I would like your commitment, of course, to that, and it's going to be difficult, and because of the different opinions you might get, but. I just want to, I think that you do recognize those responsibilities, and it's very big, and I look forward to the innovation that you've already proven that, and that bringing that to the entire government. I look forward to that.
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, I wanted to comment. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Senator. I just want to also mention that I've been in business for over 30 years, and I take care of people with disabilities and the varied services that I've provided. I've worked with federal government, and we know, as you know, Medicare is the law of the land. So, and I think for the last 20-some years, we've passed surveys without much issues. And I'm a stickler to the rules and the laws of the land. So I want you to know that I've made decisions and stood on my own. Even though it contradicts certain people, I've made decisions based on rules and regulations. So I want to assure you that I will abide by that and practice within what I think is right and within the laws of the land. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. And Senator Ugin, ready?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and Mr. Sayama, thank you for your testimony this morning. Ms. Ramos, thank you for extending yourself and accepting really the governor's call to public service. And I say that with a very strong emphasis on that, primarily because the Guam Economic Development Authority in the foreseeable near future, whether you're looking at it 3 to 5 years, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of tremendous potential for island growth and economic in that particular arena. And you highlighted one aspect. And coming from the healthcare arena and knowing full well that you've been a very successful businesswoman over the course of the past 30 years, and then continuing to identify an additional need in our community, and that is the manamko care, the senior citizen care assistance that they need, and that's something that's really lacking in our community. From this perspective, I think it really encapsulates your testimony this morning as it applies to me, because not only did you share your business perspective, not only did you share the understanding of what GEDA's responsibilities are, and that is to create jobs, to encourage business development or new businesses to prosper here in our island community, but is also to identify different industries or different services so that we can pursue it and hopefully acquire it so that it ultimately improves the quality of life of our people here in our island. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm very appreciative that you have that, not only that passion, but really that understanding of some of the additional needs that our community is pursuing. And there's a doctor out there, or several physicians out there who have advocated for assisted living homes for our senior citizens. And I certainly hope that combined with you sitting on the board in the Guam Economic Development Authority would ultimately result in something concrete where in fact some of our senior citizens can have that opportunity to live in a very good, comfortable environment, knowing full well that the entire spectrum of care is readily available. So that, in addition to continuing to push and advocate for our tourism industry, if I can ask you also, because of the nature of your expertise and your passion for business development and industry development, if you can also look at our farmers, please. The farming industry, I believe, and the agriculture industry still has a tremendous amount of potential. The question is, how do we pursue it with the support and the assistance of the expertise and the resources from the Guam Economic Development Authority? That would be very, very helpful, and I certainly hope that in the next few years that we'll be able to realize something in that regard. But I'm asking you as a future nominee, because you have my vote, Ms. Ramos, for this nomination, is if you can put just a little bit of emphasis on the agriculture and the aquaculture industry, because those are two areas that I see that we as a community, if we concertedly push it, I think we'll be able to realize some very good successes in the years ahead. So please, thank you very much, and you have my support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to also recognize the presence of Senator James Espaldon, and at this time, Senator Will Castro, if you have any questions.
No questions, ma'am. Just a brief comment. Ms. Ramos, sidus masi puri sepishon mo. I was pleased about a number of things. One, your dossier reflects a highly experienced and entrepreneurial person, I think, who's well suited for GEDA. I'm particularly appreciative of your vision. I'm grateful for your sensitivity to our shared Pacific way of life, in particular our shared Chamorro culture. I too believe very firmly, as the former Vice Speaker had expressed, in the need to pay greater attention to our manamko. I wanted to bring up another point, though, that as much, in addition to your health background and your entrepreneurial background, underscoring the importance of healthcare as an economic stimulus, as an economic engine to the community, you hit all the right points. More jobs, hopefully an increased level of care across the spectrum. But I want to go on the record. Because prior to sitting in this position, I was a strong advocate for our island's only public safety net hospital. And while GEDA has maybe an emphasis on the entrepreneurial side of the house, I want to encourage you to continue to be innovative and also look towards the People's Hospital. Innovative but firm in your path to help us build the hospital to become self-sustaining and to be able to provide the quality of health care that's necessary to take care of the people of Guam. So that will be my only contribution to your portfolio as you continue to build and serve this community. So thank you very much, Ms. Ramos.
Yeah, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Senator Rodriguez?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gina. Congratulations for
thank you,
your
Senator.
appointment to the GEDA board. I want to first state that I support your confirmation. I'll vote yes to confirm you. I really, besides the personal relationship we have with you and your husband, I want to just also highlight the background that you have in healthcare. And as you said, GEDA can really play a vital role in really moving our healthcare forward. Very recently, this body passed a law that mandated GEDA to go out and issue this request for information, and for the hospital. And from that, we receive very interesting responses from large entities. And the goal there was to be able to look at other options on how to sustain our public hospital. No way is it intended to privatize this hospital or sell it. We can't. Our Organic Act prohibits that. But I am really looking forward to your leadership and your vision when you get on the board and you're confirmed to be able to move that forward. We really have to look beyond what we've been doing over the past decades, which is just to put bandages over the problems at GMH. And so this public-private partnership that we really like to be able to pursue is something that I'm hoping that you'll be able to take a lead on as you get into the board. So other than that, you have my full support, and congratulations again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Rodriguez.
Senator Espaldon, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, yeah.
Good morning, Senator.
I mean, there's a lot been said, and I just don't want to have to reiterate everything that's been said. You have my full support. Full disclosure, I do know you, know your family, and know the background. I think there's a couple things that I just do want to bring to note. And of course, your healthcare background, I think, is one thing. Your entrepreneurial background is another thing. I think that brings definitely a rich flavor into GEDA. And I think most especially the woman's perspective. Sometimes they said, there is a saying that if you want something done, ask a woman to do it. And so it's kind of nice to have you on this board. I guess the other reason why, and I'll say it now for the record, that I really look forward to you serving on this board is because of this rich background and this perspective that you understand what it's going to take to be able to absorb all the information and really try to understand the processes and have to overcome the learning curve that comes with such a position. And I think you're definitely one of those individuals who has that capability to be able to do that. Because once you get to that learning curve, that's when you really can make perhaps the most salient and the best decisions on behalf of the island. And I think that's very important. Everybody thinks it's an easy job. You go to the board, you have a title, you sit on the Economic Development Board, and that's, this and that. But really, I understand, and I think all of us who serve in one capacity or another, the real work is all in your head. And you may not, it's not so much the physical labor that will show itself, but really, it's really a mental and emotional drain. And it's a real challenge. But I know, because I do know you, I know that you do have that fortitude, you do have that ability, and I believe that you really do have the best interests of our island at hand. Going forward, I wish you the best. You have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Espaldon.
I want to thank my colleagues. I just have one final question as we wrap up on this confirmation hearing. Ms. Ramos, you alluded to overcoming challenges in starting your businesses, and a lot of local entrepreneurs have had ideas and they've had vision, but they just don't have the capital to help start up and to help with their concepts. So I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are and how GEDA can assist a lot of our local entrepreneurs in trying to help start up their businesses, and maybe if you can identify some of the challenges that you encountered personally in starting your businesses.
Yes, thank you, Senator. You're right. Majority of the challenges in opening up a business is really the capital. People have great ideas and are very passionate with certain things, and trying to have access to capital is one of the biggest challenge coming from a female as well. My experience, my startup capital was my savings and my retirement savings. So I've always been a saver most of my life, and even as a teenager. So after 10 years of working, I was able to save up enough to be able to open a small business. And from there, grow that investment more. I think many of the mistakes of entrepreneurs and business people is that they take the money and spend it once they make it, instead of leaving it in the business and growing that business from there. I've only had to borrow money when we were hit by Pong Songhua, which of course ruined a lot of our inventory. So that was the only time that I've had to borrow funds, and I know how difficult that is to obtain funding. So what more with a new idea and a startup idea? So I think that I can help assist as to how we can expand those, lending, maybe assist in them obtaining the funding for it. But other than that, that is one of the most challenging for people. And thank goodness for SBA and GEDA for providing that support.
Thank you. In my conversations with other GEDA board members and other people that are committed to the agency, they've also just expressed their support for you and their excitement, should you be confirmed, that you will provide new insight and new energy into the board with your experience and your background in the healthcare industry, to just kind of assist us in opening up those new doors to new markets. And so I, again, thank you so much for saying yes to the governor's appointment. Thank you in advance for your service, and we look forward to really great things from you and also from continued good things from the GEDA board. So, Sujus Maasi, and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Thank you all.
At this time, we will hear Bill number 31-34, COR, an act to add a new section, subsection 50103Q, to Article 1, Chapter 50, Title 12, to the Guam Code Annotated, relative to establishing a permanent one-stop business license and permitting center operated by the Guam Economic Development Authority, or GEDA, and to incorporate a 3 working day maximum waiting period on all new business license and permitting applications. The sponsor is Senator Dennis Rodriguez and Joe San Agustin. So I'd like to offer an opportunity for Senator Rodriguez to make a few comments, and then we'll call some folks who've signed up to testify. Senator Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Bill 31 was introduced in order to make the One-Stop Licensing and Permitting Center a permanent part of the government. It was established through executive order during the former Governor Gutierrez administration. It's the intent of this legislation to centralize the functions of each regulatory government entity that is involved in the licensing and permitting of any business-related establishment. It also empowers the Guam Economic Development Authority to assume administrative control of the operations of the One-Stop Licensing and Permitting Center. And Madam Chair, before you do call anyone to testify, just to get a little bit of rationale as to why GEDA, at least in our minds, is the most appropriate entity to oversee this One-Stop Licensing Center. And we just heard from the appointee to the GEDA board about the importance of GEDA and its role as an economic driver of our island. And really, when you look at the permitting process, the licenses and the permits that need to be obtained for any business to do business on Guam, you of course have to take into account and respect the mandates of each of the regulatory agencies and what they have to protect, protecting the health and safety of our community. But you also need to include in that mixture, that matrix, an individual or an entity with the mindset of every day counts. Every day that we wait for something else from a different agency, then there's a consequence to that, not only to the community, but also to the individual entrepreneur. And so we want to ensure that our island is a business-friendly island, And this just sets the framework to ensure that we do as we say we want our island to be, which is that friendly, business-friendly island. And I understand, Madam Chair, that there are concerns, and this is really a departure from what we've done for many, many years. And so I would request that after this public hearing, that your committee would call on additional roundtable discussions, that we can work together as a community, work with the regulatory agencies to ensure that the intent of the bill remains, but then their concerns and their questions are taken into consideration. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Rodriguez. And yes, we will allow for another opportunity to discuss this bill with regulatory agencies and others. I just wanted to ask the following individuals to join us in testifying. Director Michael Borja with Land Management, Director Glenn Leon Guerrero with DPW, and then I also note individuals from DOE and GEDA who've submitted written testimony in support of the bill. In addition to that, we also received written testimony from the Guam Chamber of Commerce in support of the bill, as well as written testimony from John P. Duenas from Duenas Camacho and Associates. He provided written testimony against Bill 31-34, and there are a number of issues and concerns that he laid out. So if we have time later during the hearing, we'll read that into the record. But I'd like to offer the directors an opportunity to give their testimony. So, Mr. Borja, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senators, my name is Michael Borja, the Director of the Department of Land Management. Concerning Bill number 3134, it intends to centralize the licensing and permitting processes and assign the control of these functions to the Guam Economic Development Authority. The Department of Land Management, in its review of this bill, offers the following comments. As Senator Rodriguez had pointed out, this has been a long effort since almost 25 years ago, when Public Law 2230 addressed the inconvenience brought onto prospective builders due to the lack of a single venue to process building permits. The law further created a task force to identify efficiencies by reducing time and travel to each agency dispersed in various locations. In response to that law, the Department of Public Works, as the lead agency to the One-Stop Building Permit Application Task Force, provided a report containing 3 basic recommendations, and that there had to be some funding requirements, that there had to be some working alternatives, and we had to look at future alternatives to be considered for long-term solutions to the permitting process. The following year, Public Law 2277 references the creation of a single-source venue for business licenses, and sequence of events sparked by industry demand led to the creation of the One-Stop Center at DPW by an executive order in 1995. It's important to recognize the past to see how this program has evolved to what it is today, and to understand what is needed to establish a successful program. Interestingly, findings provided in the bill clearly reflect challenges identified in a report that was produced nearly 25 years ago. While there remains the dedicated and centralized one-stop office, adequate staff and funding serves as a basic caveat of success. While staff and funding is identified in the bill, we are disconcerted because such assets should be identified from other sources, since existing resources currently support both the one-stop program and primary mandated responsibilities of agencies involved in the program. At the time of its inception, each agency had the capacity to support the one-stop concept of a fully staffed single one-stop center. However, hindrances identified today are the result of budget constraints for dedicated staff and sole support capacity. Thus, if time serves proof to an existing problem, that is, the lack of available people, the bill should focus on identifying resources. Nonetheless, the bill addresses the lack of personnel by proposing to engage in contracts with private firms that may provide services such as conducting inspections. If this is the case, then the bill must be expanded to address the extent of government reliance and liability that will be afforded to such contracts. Likewise, in an effort to secure due process and avoid conflicts of interest, these private contractors should be restricted exclusively in this service. Since the inception of the one-stop program, innovations in technology have expanded beyond the limits of tasks previously unknown. The one-stop program should exploit these mainstream technologies to promote smart work with less staff. DLM, with the support of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans and in partnership with DPW, is currently structuring an ArcGIS, or an Aeronautical Reconnaissance Coverage Geographic Information System, platform-based permit tracking program that we believe can serve to address the lack of dedicated staff and then allow agencies to remotely review permits and licenses. The design intent focuses on digital submission of permits, plans, and license applications, and simultaneous online distribution of these applications to respective agencies. The challenge to achieving this goal is twofold, and this bill should be modified accordingly. That is, the dedication and commitment of a digital wireless domain and the identification of appropriate funding to support the endeavor. Section 3 stresses the need to streamline processes so a business can be up and running or continuing its license and permitting operations in a matter of 3 days. From inception, the edict of a one-stop center was to provide efficient and effective service to the customer. For the most part, a desired 3-day turnaround to adjudicate land management's part in the application, permit, or license is reasonable. However, the Department of Land Management is only a part of many other reviews necessary to process permits and licenses. Additionally, there are instances where either a permit or a license may require an assessment time that could exceed the expected 3-day turnaround. In spirit of due process and diligence, the bill should expand and incorporate mechanisms of review that would afford agencies additional time within reason. This concern focuses primarily on permits and license applications that are complex and needing more in-depth assessment. In this respect, we are unsure of the purpose of granting a default approval time of 60 days where recommendations are made to assert a final disposition of a permit or a license. Currently, agencies have allowed permits and licenses forward clearance, however, conditioned to the extent that regulatory mandates and concerns of adherence are achieved. Section 4 of the bill calls for 90 days of enactment to review all existing license and permitting regulations and provide the governor and the speaker outlining recommended revisions. Further, the contents of the report will take into consideration processes that may be eliminated, revised, or strengthened in licensing and permitting of any government regulated activity. Respectively, this review process should precede this legislation, and recommended revisions should be included in the bill, such as this, where such revisions would need to be enacted by law. For example, this bill merely amends a section of the Guam Code annotated for GEDA, but it does not make the necessary changes to the respective sections of code for the regulatory agencies and departments. For the most part, each regulatory agency shares the same responsibility to our citizens to secure and promote safety, health, and general welfare. The expected performance standard of each regulatory agency as a commitment of government reliance to the people is that of due process. The challenge of a quick timeline turnaround rests in preparatory planning efforts with our customers and recognizing those time-sensitive processes that are embedded by law. We have been successful with assisting development groups who assist on engaging initial consultation and guidance with our office to determine development options. As part of a scoping process, developers are offered a direction and guidance to best prepare and execute critical elements of their development scheme. At the early stage, for example, initial consultation has helped developers create best fit timelines of development phases. This, from our understanding, plays a critical factor for our customers' financing needs. This bill asserts GEDA's authority to obtain funding from each regulatory agency for their designated position. We believe this may be counterproductive to those agencies, such as the Department of Land Management, that currently manages the operational requirements with limited funding and limited staffing. As with other agencies, DLM continues to seek alternative funding to support even its most basic programmatic functions. The Department's Planning Division is responsible for providing regulatory review of licenses and permits, as well as tending to the Guam Land Use Commission applications for zoning changes and use variances. Under its current manning, it will experience the loss of 25% of its authorized staffing should just one person be assigned solely for the one-stop services. Likewise, the division has been innovative in supporting one-stop efforts by locating its services within the department and yet dedicating work hours on one-stop customer service to include walk-in customers consultation that can take up more than half of a person's daily workload. Simultaneously, that person then can do other mandatory tasks that when time permits. The Department of Land Management supports the general goal to enhance and expedite the license and permit process. However, the assignment of personnel and funding to a single agency to accomplish this task dismisses all the regulatory mandates currently assigned to specific agencies and departments. The department would favorably participate in discussions and forums to enhance this bill so it may appropriately accomplish its intended goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borja. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of my colleague, Senator Tom Atta. And at this time, I'd also like to ask Mr. Matthew Baza from GEDA to join the panel. And Mr. Leon Guerrero, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Early on in my career, I was instructed that if I don't add any additional things, then it's probably not worth it. Saying what I've written my testimony, it's there for your review. Just want to say that DPW does support the intent of the bill, which is to expedite the processing of both business licenses and building permits. Senator Rodriguez and Mike had also mentioned the avenues of roundtable discussions, and that's essentially the gist of my testimonies. I think there are a lot of things that issues that we need to take up. Mike has pointed out a few. We've got a few more, but at the end of the day, I think that we can accomplish this goal of improving the processing of business licenses and our building permits, and one of the ways to do that would be to modernize. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Baza?
I'm Matthew Baza, Industry Development Specialist from GEDA, and I will be reading testimony from Administrator Jay Rojas. Half-a-Day Chairwoman Régine Biscoli and members of the Committee on Innovation and Economic, Workforce, and Youth Development. And thank you for the opportunity to present written testimony on Bill 31-34 COR. Although the Guam Economic Development Authority, GEDA, agrees with the intent of the bill, we have some issues and concerns regarding its provisions. Our concerns are outlined below. GEDA would like the phrase "one stop" be removed from the name of the proposed new facility, as it may be potentially misleading to the public. Although the new facility will serve as the hub and central office for business licensing and permitting, there may still be instances where individuals will need to travel to other agencies to obtain clearances and other information. 2. Bill 31-34 does not appropriate any funding to GEDA to conduct this significant amount of work to establish this one-stop center. This will make it virtually impossible for GEDA to meet the mandates as set out by the bill. In addition, GEDA's own revenue streams will not be sufficient to cover operational costs for the proposed new one-stop center. Other funding mechanisms will have to be identified and placed into this bill before its passage. 3. GEDA agrees that business licenses and permits should be issued faster. Although we would like to adhere to the 3-day timeline, we, however, must not forget the health, safety, and welfare of the people of Guam. Requiring the adjudication of all business license and permit applications within 3 working days, with conditional approval of 60 days should the 3-day period lapse, poses risk that certain permits and licenses may be more hastily approved to meet this deadline. This may also lead to a haste makes waste situation where permits and licenses that may have been approved will need to be re-examined at additional cost to all agencies involved, including GEDA. 4. Lastly, the bill does not explicitly state who will conduct all necessary permit and license inspections. Although the bill does grant GEDA the authority to contract on a temporary basis any private firms that may provide inspection services, GEDA does not have the financial resources to do so. Additionally, the bill does not mandate that permitting agencies conduct inspections. Without clearer language that ensures that all agencies involved fully participate in all stages of the licensing and permitting process, the laudable intentions of this bill may not be met. GEDA wholeheartedly understands and supports the intent of this bill. Small business growth and real property development are significant contributors to our local economy. However, although the intent of this bill is commendable, passing Bill 31 without taking the above concerns into account will hamper its efficacy for the economy of Guam. Thank you for the time and attention on this matter. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Signed, J. Rojas, Administrator.
Sujus Maasi. And at this time, I'd like to offer an opportunity for my colleagues to ask any questions of the panel. Vice Speaker Chalahi.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I think it's significant that the agencies that are tasked to do this regulatory have issues that I think, those are very important, and we should review those more. Can I ask you, Mr. Borja, on land management's part, is there a difference in the time required for doing a review for licensing versus doing a review for permitting? Would you say that licensing is quicker?
Oh yeah, business licenses, I mean, that's really not a very time-consuming thing. But when you get to a building permit issue, or before they even get to those points, especially for a large development, many times those developers will come to us to work with us so they can smooth out their timelines and their plans before they proceed forward with the rest of the things. I mean, it's important. I was in the private industry for many, many years, and I've gone through the business license process and the building permit process. And while the building permit process doesn't always seem to be an enjoyable activity, I found that every single time it was absolutely necessary to have to go through that process just to ensure that the building you were building was going to be correctly built in accordance with the codes. But as far as land management goes, no, business license is a quick thing. So, like I said, the turnaround for land management is not very long, but we're not the sole entity that has to deal with this. There are many other agencies that they have to go through, and we don't delay things at all when we don't have, but when there are things that come up that could be problematic, for example, trying to put a building on something that may be in the wrong zoning, then that's where the problems occur.
I think a lot of the concerns that have been brought up are regarding the permitting process, because it's true, permitting is a regulatory, it's one of our most extreme regulatory functions of our agencies, and we are relying on you to do a very thorough review. But if we separated the licensing portion and go back to the one-stop center for licensing, is it possible to put a land management employee down there, the one that's doing it right now at land management, down to a one-stop center for a portion of the time, like once a week, twice a week, or 3 times a week, like some of the agencies have been doing, and on a coordinated schedule with DPW, just to avoid the runaround? Are they able to process licensing from the DPW center?
The answer simply is yes, but practically it's very difficult. There are only 4 planners in land management to do this function. And like I said, when one of them is gone, 25% of them is gone. And right now, I'm here, not my chief planner, because they're busy with all kinds of folks at land management taking care of things. We have tried to serve and I've tried to work everything I could out to get them to be there, but it really limits them. Each one of these planners has other activities that are quite time consuming on their part, and that's the preparation of zone changes and variances and all those kinds of things that typically happen specifically with land management, and those take a lot of effort to produce those documents, do site inspections and whatnot.
Yes,
as far as our personnel, it's very difficult. We have tried to do it. We do try to do it when it's necessary, but I think, we have a good working relationship with the building permit section down in DPW, and when needed, we'll be down there for certain things, but we've tried our best to try and man that, but it's very difficult.
Okay, yeah. My suggestion is, or question is if we limited it with your current resources, you're saying you're not able to dedicate one person to do licensing for DLM, right? On the schedule that the one-stop center currently operates. But if you dedicated one day for DLM processing of licenses only by the planner.
And we've tried to work that out too. I think we've done several days a week,
okay,
or certain times of the day. So we've tried to do that as well to make it known that we'll be there during certain times. But when a customer comes in and we're not there, of course the staff tells them they can proceed down to land management directly if they want to get it taken care of.
On the other days?
On the other days, whenever we're not present at the one-stop center.
Okay. And GEDA, I guess both of you have cited the potential, even GEDA actually, DPW, GEDA, and land management have cited the potential health and safety issues from rushing regulatory review, particularly the permitting processes, right? But I'm thinking that this bill, it has a good intent, particularly for licenses, and that was the original intent for the one-stop center. It's that licensing. And if the agencies can do licensing review quicker than they can do permitting review, then I would ask that we regroup and try to at least get the licensing done while we do what you are recommending with the permitting. Review it a little more to find out where the delays are and streamline those at each agency, because those are specific agency issues and the permitting side, right? All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. Very helpful.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And Senator Castro?
I just want to follow up on Mr. Baza's comment. Actually, it ties directly to the two agencies here, particularly DPW, DLM. So there was mention that there was no funding, no appropriation tied to this particular bill, but I want to go back to Mike as I mentioned that in terms of this multi-agency initiative to establish maybe an online permitting platform, if you want to call it that. I remember during my stint at the Bureau that we started that off, Mike, and I appreciate you mentioning that on page 3. So if the opportunity permits, if I can have the privilege of your audience, I'd like to get with you and the soon-to-be, I hope, confirmed BSP director to talk about how we can flush that out, because while you can have the manpower and the dedicated physical space, I think the driving force behind that in order to make an intelligent and well-informed decision is going to be that data, the access to that information at your fingertips. And we've already started to do some of that, Mike, with your agency. I know Edwin Regis and the Guam Coastal Management Program with the PIP folks at BSP are already looking at ways through the federal lens for the ARC to extend that kind of opportunity using technology. And I think this is just another extension on the local side of the house. And I want to get with you, even if it to even tack on an appropriation of dollar amount, and I'll commit to working with the respective chairs who have oversight on that. But thank you, Mike, for entering that into the record. I think it's a good start.
Thank you, Senator Castro. If there are no other questions, I'd like to offer the sponsor of the bill an opportunity to ask questions. So, Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for your testimony. Look forward to the discussions we'll have in a roundtable. Just a few questions now for Mr. Baza. I know that the GEDA had put together some findings on or review of instituting a one-stop permitting or licensing center. Can you please provide or ask the administrator to provide that to the committee so we can use that as we move forward with the discussions? Okay, and also, Mr. Borja, thank you for your one of these comments here about the review of existing mandates and guidelines that you have now, how long would it take for at least just your department to be able to do that review?
Probably a day.
A day, okay.
But I mean, it's to go through what all the different parts of the code that require us to do whatever it is. So
and your recommendations to eliminate or to revise some of those?
Well, you're right, and you know, sometimes some of those things are there for a reason, and they you know, I don't know how much we can alter. We haven't given an in-depth look at those kinds of things to determine that kind of stuff, but we can assemble our listing.
Okay. Yeah, so just if I may request that you start to do that in preparation for these roundtable discussions.
Will do.
Okay, thank you very much. And also for maybe for DPW, if you can also start that compilation of a review and, you know, proposal of what needs to be eliminated, what's to be added or revised. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Rodriguez. And I think we have one final question from our acting speaker. So, Senator Chalahi.
I apologize, but thank you very much. Just one more question for Mr. Baza from GEDA. So the bill calls for GEDA to use any available funds within its budget to accomplish the goals of this legislation and to offer funds for technical assistance to agencies involved in the licensing and permitting processes. And I know in your testimony you said GEDA would need funds to implement this program, but what about this technical assistance to agencies involved in the licensing and permitting processes? Is GEDA not able to do any of that with its existing mandates or funds?
Well, as Senator Rodriguez did refer to, GEDA has done some initial research and data compilation regarding the current permit center operations, and that's something that that GEDA does. You know, we work very well with the other. It's in our mandate to work with other government agencies to help provide sort of technical assistance and whatnot. So that is something that we have been working on. You know, the administrator has had meetings regarding certain aspects of permitting and stuff, because it is something important to us. Every time someone comes in from off island, the first question is, how do I get a business license? How do I get a permit? So we talk back and forth with them, try to get them the information they need. But you are correct, Acting Speaker, that that is something that we do provide, and it's something that we're working on right now with the other agencies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I'm sorry, Madam Chair, may I ask just one more question to DPW? Mr. Languerrero, the current one-stop center is still open, isn't it?
It's called the permitting center.
Oh, sorry. The
it's
permitting,
not one stop.
it's not, isn't it the business licensing that they do there? No?
Sorry?
It's not business licensing, it's only permitting center?
Business licenses are actually, people do come to that facility, yes.
Oh, it's not called One Stop, you're saying?
No, it's a
it's
permit
called
center.
Business.
Because we don't have all the agencies.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Are you able to revive a functioning licensing one-stop center?
It's the intent, and this is I'm presuming this is why Senator Rodriguez.
Well, even without this, under your current executive order, the one that you did before, I mean, that still exists. Is that something you're able to do? My understanding is it's just that the agencies were not able to commit personnel down there.
Correct.
So it's only DPW and sometimes others.
It's DPW, GFD that are mainly there now. EPA has recently come in. They're there full-time as well. Land management, public health, they come in on different days. And, of course, DOA is there for the treasurer.
It's my understanding that no agency can process a permit there while they're sitting there and maybe within an hour. But licenses, like the Director of Land Management has said, perhaps those can be done still at a one-stop center and quickly.
Not to speak on behalf of fire, but there are certain for them the mandate is if you want to have a business license in it, and it's a business place that has, I guess, never been been inspected before they would do an inspection. And if it's a new office, they want to make sure that the fire extinguishers are there, the egress are there, and stuff like that. So those are issues that they're concerned about.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If there are no other individuals prepared to testify, I want to thank everybody on the panel. Thank you very much. Oh, one more? I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Neil Rochelle from Department of Education has signed up in support. Neil, please join the panel. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rochelle. You may proceed.
Madam Chair, and Senators Ada, Espaldon, Rodriguez, Senator Castro, Senator Uggan, and Senator Talahi, Buenos and Hafaday. I want to thank you in advance for listening to my experience recently in attempting a business license. It was not my intention to be here this morning. Thank you. You see, I came to Guam 6 years ago for a quieter life from New York. I was a school superintendent in a high-stress, fast-paced life. I'd always dreamed of life on an island and always drawn to the ocean and sun, and Guam was not in my future, or a territory that I even learned about in school. But I came to this island, and I love this island. I've made it my home, and I work for the Department of Education as a project director for a federally funded consolidated grant Guam DOE is fortunate enough to be awarded. The activity I oversee is enhancing education through technology. The program brings technology devices and professional development to our teachers and students through our 41 schools, private, non-public, and eligible charter schools included. It's through my work that I came to the need of a business license. As we provide opportunity for teachers, the need grows, as we all know, and the resources dwindle. As time evolved, DOE has been paying less stipends to our teachers for work outside their workday. There is no comp time. Often these trainings are after school, in the evenings or on weekends, and during school vacations that teachers attend. In wanting to give something back to teachers that work so hard at DOE, I believe we were trying to be very creative while doing something that not only would benefit the teachers, the employees, it would also benefit our department. Our teachers and staff require ongoing continuing education to keep up with their craft and renew their certification. It was through that, if folks such as myself were to provide an important professional development, we could work with the University of Guam. We could become instructors of record with UOG, and that we would be submitting our courses that we provide professional development for teachers, and they could receive continuing college credit. We also hope to do this with employees in our other areas that may not need teaching certification, but to work out for continuing education, such as accountants, etc., by Guam law. Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? So I was asked that since technology is such a huge initiative right now and involves many opportunities for our teachers and staff to be learning and training, if I would become an instructor of record and apply at UOG. Why not? I've been an educator for over 30 years. I even have experience as an adjunct professor in my past life. So I proceeded to begin the process. Since we're currently in a large initiative for updating the GDOE technology plan that I am a major facilitator, there was a sense of urgency so our teachers could receive credit for work and learning they will be doing as they help develop our updated district technology plan. I found out that in addition to an application for UOG, they require a Guam business license. Well, I have one, sort of. Remember when I first came to Guam, I came with nothing and I had no work. I got a business license at the time. I was at full throttle to accomplish a lot here, get accustomed to Guam, its people, its way of life. I intended to do some educational consulting, and I did obtain a license. I did one project to assist one of our island's groups of parents of children with disabilities, and then I was hired and began working for DOE. I never used the license again, and it was a very busy time. We reached what prompted me to come here this morning. I guess I messed up on my license. While the license is a one-year license, you must renew it annually, whether it's used or not, and you must file a monthly GRT. Well, I never filed the monthly GRT. In fact, it was an oversight when I first signed up that I would even need to do that if I wasn't making any income, a severe error on my part. However, I did have nothing to file. I'd be filing zero. So now I have a license without the required GRT reporting, and it was not renewed since 2011. I proceeded to find out what I needed to do to take care of this issue. I'll immediately say that many of my local friends that I knew felt I knew enough people around that if I spoke to the right person, I could get some help and work around the system. Honestly, it's a bit embarrassing because of my lack of due diligence, and I didn't want to do that. So I began to navigate the system myself. I made a call. I'm told that the filing of the years until present, and told that in lieu of filing a form every month, I could get a letter notarized stating there had been no income to my business license conducted during that period. So that's what I did. This week, I left a very busy work schedule to go to Rev and Tax after I went to my bank and got a notarized statement. What followed had me frustrated, disappointed, and totally amazed that trying to do something would appeared so simple to me that would help me in my work, help others, maybe get them college credit, I would get zero compensation, that this would be so difficult. So I've been asked to illustrate that for you. I'll take a moment from my words to just go through my experience. So as I ended up at licensing, I presented my notarized letter. Before I could even speak, the person at the other end of the window pushed it back to me and said, "We don't take that anymore." My call was about a month ago. I debated. I was upset. I had taken time off. I had already waited at the bank to get my letter notarized, and here I end up to being told that this will not be good anymore. I'll admit I was frustrated, but at every point I was respectful, and I don't believe I ever lost my patience. I was still amazed, and I was told that I needed to now file for all of the time that I had not used that license for every single month. At that point, I asked for a supervisor. The individual went to their supervisor, who was no further than Senator Rodriguez, and before she could say anything, she had been looking at my letter, told the employee, "We don't do that anymore." I heard the woman say, "But he would like to speak to you," and she said, "There's nothing to say, we don't do that anymore." Okay, so after I took my deep breaths and remind myself I am a GovGuam employee myself, I said, "Tell me what I need to do." So I was handed the form for GRT, and she said, "You need to file this for that period." And I looked at the form, and there was no place for me to do anything more than a month. So I said, "How does this take care of the 6 years?" "Well, I'll tell you what you can do to save some time. I would fill out this section, this section, this section, and this section. Don't sign it. Don't put in the month. Make 72 copies of this. Then go and fill in one for every month and put your signature, because we must have an original, and then you can bring it to us. And then we will process for your GRT." More deep breaths. I asked, "Then what?" Because I also hear there would be late fees on a license that would be pretty pricey, and don't really necessarily have the means for what I thought was going to cost me. "Well, that'll just take care of your GRT. So now I need to find out what I need to do about the status of my license." Well, at that point, given that the GRT, if I assume, would be filed, you would have to either renew, which included paying all those late fees, or cancel your license. But I need a license. Well, you would just apply for a new one. Okay, what do I have to do to cancel the license? Can I have the form? Sure you can. Here it is, a form from Rev and Tax to cancel that license. And before you come back to us, you need to go wait for us to process those 72 pieces of paper, or GRT, so it shows in the computer. And then you'll need to go to income tax, and then you clear through collection, and then you can come back to business license and we will cancel your license. Okay, I need a license. Sure, sir, you can apply for a new license, and here is the form for that. Sorry that we have split up our offices, and so your first stop is land management, which you will have to go to the ITC building for and get approval from them. And then you can drive down the road to DPW so that they can approve your license, and then you can come back to the business department and we will issue a new license. It was quite the experience. At that point, I didn't know what I was going to do. My plate's full, as everybody else's. My days are busy. I have quarterly report due on our grant on Monday. The tech plan I've been working on is in full swing and a draft due to the superintendent by the 4th of June, we hope, before our teachers leave. I'm beginning the application on our 27 grant. That is, our folks in superintendent are in Washington right now getting all of the details for our process. And I don't want to make 72 copies of anything to report 0. Not to mention, when she was trying to comfort me, she saw in my face how overwhelmed I was about the process of the 72 pieces of paper and said, well, sir, perhaps if you have a secretary, she could do it for you. So I thought, and I thought, and I thought, and I have blood in me from my past life. I have not used it here on Guam, and this is my first time here. I do have strong values, and I am a GovGuam employee. We have some things in common. Under our Honorable Governor Calvo, we've all been asked to take the half-a-day pledge. That includes that concerted effort by GovGuam employees and agencies to improve their customer service, not only in how our customers are treated, but what makes their experience in our agencies as pleasant as possible to meet their needs as quickly as possible. We were all, quote, trained, time taken away from our jobs to make it clear of what the half-a-day pledge was. We're under Federal Paperwork Reduction Act. I sign off with that as a federal project director that I will follow paper reduction. I have an official request in writing from Governor Calvo to reduce our energy consumption as well as our paperwork. And in that memo also states how the use of technology should help us do all of that. As a DOE employee, our superintendent notified staff of a paperwork reduction imperative as well. Filing 72 months with 72 individual copies of anything is not meeting our mission. Moreover, the entire experience has me question, what are we doing on our island to prepare our future? I'm an educator, that's my job. With all the school to work initiatives that we have, and in the time we are focusing on college and career readiness, we are not preparing our students to navigate this kind of system. And while a part of me as that educator says maybe I need to revise some of the things that we do teach our students to better prepare our young people, those on this island that are young, desire to be entrepreneurs, or even for larger business, I do not want to prepare them to have to navigate through that kind of system. The system clearly needs some fixing. And that's what brought me here. I met with Senator Rodriguez. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when those friends suggested I go to someone to just try to get some help to work around the system, I decided I would. but not to go around the system. I know Senator Rodriguez. I know he's the kind of people that made me love Guam the way I do, and I've known him since I've come here. I know his commitment to our island and to bringing economic development, keep our young and our talented people on the island to work and help Guam prosper. I decided to go to him to share my experience and the need to fix the system. Through my lack of involvement in politics, only to find out about Bill 31. And of course, Senator Augustine was brought into the fold because of his oversight over revenue tax. I am not here to advocate for every component in this bill, and honestly, I don't pretend to know every detail of this bill. But I am here to advocate for the one-stop license center concept. The process of sending people around the island to multiple agencies for approvals before going back to a license bureau is burdensome. It wastes time, it wastes paper, and I cannot believe it does not discourage people that run into obstacles from doing business on Guam. I'm not alone. I know I've heard people frustrated with the licensing process, the clearance process from all the GovGuam agencies, DOE included, and the fact that it's an archaic system. I'm in technology. I'm working to show students how technology is going to move their future, how they will use skills that will increase productivity, that it will make the processes more accurate and more efficient. We teach our students that Guam, everyone is treated with respect to. We help each other. What I've experienced shows me we're not preparing our students, so this is what they can expect. Incidentally, some postscript. I was grossly off on my late fee that I believed was going to be exorbitant at $75 or $85 a year to renew. For each year, I didn't renew my license. For that license that I am filing 0, I learned that the late fee is $1 a day. In order for me to renew that license and keep it at this point, it would cost me $365 times 6 years to renew a license that I'm going to use, I hope, to be an instructor of record for teachers to get continuing ed credit that I will receive no additional compensation for. When I was frustrated, I asked the woman for that supervisor, and she gave me her supervisor's name. Our senator overseeing revenue tax informed me I was given the wrong name. Left question of whether or not I was intentionally given a supervisor's wrong name so the story did not move up the chain. Or was that employee so ill-informed to not even know that her own supervisor's boss had changed? That supervisor no longer works for the agency. So was this intentional? Or is there a need for training and communication so all employees know standard operating procedures and who they work for and what their role is? That we update those standard operating procedures, that we not look at a one-size-fits-all depending on all kinds of licenses. What about those updated SOPs? Are they up to date? Are they even appropriate? I was going for a license. My license says that I'm an educational consultant. Does DPW really have a role in getting me that type of license? Another point on the license. The part about that license being prorated, and I have to renew it if I did get a license now new, just in 2 months in June. I'm told it's not good for a year. I'm still in that postscript that I need to get verified, but told that Senator Torres has legislation that is already in effect that changed that so that there is not a June renewal. It is a full year on an annual anniversary date. Again, I would have been told wrong information. So, respected members of the committee, I ask you to look at the prospects, at least, of this bill and how the story that I have told you may add to establishing that need for change. I love this island. I've made it my home. I'm an educator, and I want this island to continue to provide a future for our students so that they may grow to be happy and prosperous on Guam. And I want for anyone that wants to live and do business on Guam the same. Tsu'os Masi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rochelle, for your enlightening testimony. And I'd like to give our acting speaker an opportunity to ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle. And actually, I just wanted to request from you, Madam Chair, that if any further discussion on this bill is going to be had, that revenue tax be engaged. I think what Mr. Rochelle has said is consistent with other testimonies submitted that says we need revenue tax if we're going to talk about a one-stop licensing center. So I would ask that they be engaged in this process. And thank you very much. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Rodriguez?
Neil, thank you very much for coming here, taking leave and coming here. I appreciate it. First of all, your island loves you too, and thanks you for the service and contributions you're providing to our community, especially to our kids.
Thank you.
When we met, it wasn't for this bill. You came to share with me that experience you had and to see how we can really change the system, right? And I tell you, I believe in divine intervention, right? And so when we met, it was just yesterday, and so I said, hey, there's this hearing on this bill, and I hope you got a chance to review it and understand that this is not directly related to just your issue.
Correct.
The story you provided here is the same story we hear from a lot of other individuals. Small business owners, young people, a lot of them young people that want to start up a food truck, want to start up a small business, a t-shirt company, want to print t-shirts. And I've seen a lot of them who've come and just couldn't stand this whole process and eventually never proceeded with their dream. And so that's where you're at now. And so we're hoping that this bill could be used as a way to start fixing the system that really is broken. Land management has their role, and they're doing their role. DPW has their role. All the other regulatory agencies have their role. I think what is lacking here is that communication, and that's why we've suggested that to bring GEDA in as the overseer of this. I'll say it again. I said earlier, is that really. Besides the regulatory roles and the interest that each of these departments must look out for, you must have in the matrix an entity like GEDA whose focus is that driver of economic activity. And so we're hoping that as we move this forward and have these discussions, that we'll be able to once and for all resolve a lot of these problems that really are things that could be resolved very quickly. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Mr. Rochelle. I want to thank you for your advocacy this morning. We all know that in business, time is money, and you've spent a lot of time in this process, and I can understand your frustration because as a former small business owner myself, I've had to go through that process as well. And like Senator Rodriguez mentioned, we do have a lot of friends and family members who are in business here on Guam, and we know that that's the lifeblood of our economy. And a lot of folks that I know have shared their frustration about having to basically wheel in their filing cabinets to revenue tax and stand there because they were sick and tired of going there multiple times. And so we understand your frustration. We're going to do what we can to try to assist everybody that's involved in this process to help to fix it and improve it. So again, thank you so much for your time. If there are no other questions from my colleagues and no other individuals signed up to testify, Bill 3134 has been duly heard. The chair notes that for the record, again, we may hold supplemental hearings, a roundtable, or markup sessions as the measure might require. So Tsu'os Masi, everybody, for your participation. At this time, we'd like to move on to the last item on our agenda, the appointment of Mr. William C. McDonald as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. We have a number of people signed up in support, and I'll read all those names. And then I'd also like to call up as the first panel, a number of people who have signed up for oral testimony. So for oral testimony, Mr. Manny Cruz in support, Mr. Manny Duenas, Keandra McDonald, Jesse Pangilinan, Patrick Oliva, Bill Sablon, okay, if we have more space, Earl Garrido, and Mimi Santos. And just for the record, I'll read these names off, who've also are attending this morning's hearing in support of Mr. McDonald. John McDonald, Michael Chang, Robert Nauta, Robert Uggan, Francis Farring, Magdalena Toigui, Annie Garrido, Denise Mendiola Hertzlet, who also submitted written testimony, Ben Lizama, who submitted written testimony, Claire Menu, Lucia McDonald, Catherine McDonald, Lauren McDonald, Antonia Valora, Lillian Nauta, Mayor Paul McDonald, thank you, sir, Alita Sid Nicholas, Vivian Atta, Alfred Manipul, John T. Pangilinan, Raymond Blas, Maria Duenas, Tom Santos, Darlene Merfallen, Bernice Nelson, Retta Sue, Danielle Salas, S.T. Galindez, J. McDonald, Edward Cadahay, George F. Pareda, Vincent Paris, John Salas Calvo, Gregorio Salas Calvo, Pete Meno, Greg Sefri, B. Aloka, Ramona Paris Nauta, Franklin Nauta, Linda Regis, Carl Olson, Valerie Sefri, Ursula Herrera, Mary Leon Guerrero, and Roland T. Laguatnia. Sidus Masi to everybody for attending this morning's confirmation hearing and for showing your support for Mr. McDonald. And if we can proceed with the panel with Mr. Manny Cruz, begin. Sidus Masi.
Hafaday and good morning, Madam Secretary and members of the committee. My name is Manuel Q. Cruz. I'm a resident of the village of Jonia. I come before your committee to testify in support of Mr. William C. McDonald as Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I know Mr. McDonald during my tenure as the Deputy Director of Agriculture from 2011 to 2013. At that time, Mr. McDonald was very active as the chairman of the Guam Southern Soil and Water Conservation District. He was involved in his work with federal and local Gulf Guam agencies to mitigate soil and water concerns on the island. He had worked very closely with the staff of the University of Guam and the Guam Coastal Management Program, GCMP, in mitigating some conservation and preservation issues and challenges with the rivers in southern Guam. I know that Mr. McDonald will do well in the work of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I urge the committee to support Mr. McDonald's confirmation as Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Sidus Maasid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Manny Duenas? Buenas, Hafade.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Chair,
morning.
Senators. My name is Manny P. Duenas. I'm the president of the Guam Fishermen's Cooperative Association. I'm also a farmer and a fisherman. And I would like to testify in support of Mr. McDonald's appointment as director of BSP. I've been privileged to have known him for about 10 years or more. I've known his family all my life, actually, out of Agana Heights. They're great people, the McDonald family. But Bill and his hard work with the Farmers Co-op up in Didido and the fruition of the Farmers facility has shown me there is a lot of heart. And in any position you take, and that's what I look at Bill McDonald. He has the heart, he has the aptitude, he has the attitude. And the thing is about those three characteristics, he has it directed towards the people he serves. So the position he holds as part of the governor's office, I believe, the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, is a very important position in this government and something that should be taken very seriously. As I heard mention of agriculture by Senator Ogden. You know, all these programs we have and the people that are involved have the passion to make it all succeed. But we need the leadership, we need the directive, we need to plan properly. We need to have that statistical information to actually make things happen. I apologize for my raspy voice, but I'm not in good health. But at the end of the day, Mr. McDonald has proven to me, as very few people have in my life, and he has proven to me that he is more than capable of accomplishing any task put before him. His success with the Farmers Co-op in GEDA and his continued working with the farmers throughout this island has made me proud to have known him as a person and as a friend. And I hope you all sign up to confirm him as director, because he is not going to let you down and he's not going to break the law, because I've known him too well. So at the end of the day, he is a great man to put in this position. I'm sorry, Will, but Senator Will, but you know, I think he can do a better job than you. I just want to add a little humor to that. But thank you very much for allowing me to testify. It's been a long, trying morning for you senators. Thank you.
Sidus Masi, Ms. Keandra McDonald.
Hafade Senators, Vice Speaker Chirlahi and Madam Chair. My name is Keandra Marlene McDonald. I am a student at UOG, and I am also currently the Vice Speaker of the Guam Youth Congress. I am also the niece of William McDonald, my Uncle Bill, and I have known him since I was born for almost 19 years, coming the 24th of this month. And on all those years that I have known him, he really is one of the most hardworking people that I have ever met, I've ever been around. He is very committed to everything that he is given, including to his family, to the jobs that people ask him to do. And he is the most hardworking, most humble man that I guarantee will be in this position. So thank you very much, Senators, for allowing me to testify today.
Thank you. I also have testimony from Denise Mendiola Hertzit that will be read into the record. Mr. Jesse Pangilinan. Is he here? Mr. Patrick Oliva.
Buenas, Madam Chair, Honorable Senators. My name is Patrick Oliva, and I am the Executive Manager from the Guam Tourist Group. The Tourist Group consists of prominent and long-standing companies, including ST Corporation, Western Sales Trading Company, Japan Bus Lines, to name a few. I am here at the bequest of the Torres family, namely the matriarch, say Mrs. Mary Torres, and her children, Chris, Edwin, and Melissa Torres. I am also here on my own as a private citizen to testify on behalf of Mr. Bill McDonald. When I found out Mr. Bill McDonald was being scrutinized for the position of director for Bureau of Stats and Plans, as appointed by the Governor of Guam, I was compelled to offer my own insights to my knowledge of Mr. Bill, which I'm sure you will find enlightening as well. Mr. McDonald is a long-time resident, at least his family is a long-time resident of Ganye Heights, and he has established himself as a very helpful and reputable gentleman in the village community. I personally have known Bill for more than 12 years. I was the former managing director at GTA Teleguam Holdings immediately following privatization, where Mr. McDonald was instrumental in leading the completion of various specially assigned projects leading up to the privatization efforts. Prior to the initiation of the Guam Homeland Security, GTA had already plans on beefing up its own security measures at all its central offices to ensure safety, soundness, and reliability of the long-standing telecommunications company. Bill successfully saw through all obstacles and challenges, and the infrastructure for all security measures were put in place, all thanks to Bill's hard work. Bill was dedicated to his job no matter what was thrown his way. He had the unique ability to adjust and adapt when needed, all for the sake of getting the job done, even if the area was not his forte. He made it his forte to fruition of the assigned task. Bill was compassionate about everything he did. He argued what he believed to be the incorrect route, but he also offered suggestions and recommendations and alternatives on how to do things the right way to achieve the same, if not better, results. Bill was always dependable and reliable. Assign him a task, and you are sure that it will get done without having to worry about it. He sees things through and creatively finds resources needed to get the job done. As the former managing director of GTA, I was proud to have Bill as part of my team, and I was always impressed with the vast knowledge he possessed. Once confirmed to the position of director, you too will see the fruitfulness of Mr. McDonald and the creativeness and collaborativeness that it will take to bring the department to the next level. Thank you.
Suzusmasi, Mr. Oliva. Mr. Bill Sablan.
Good morning.
Morning.
Members of the Legislature. BJ Cruz is not up there, right? Anyway, we got a good choice up there. 7 of you. It's a lucky 7 for Mr. McDonald. Anyway, I'm only here to not glorify Mr. McDonald, but I will honor him though. He is a very confident man, and he produces whatever he says he's going to produce. He doesn't jump the gun on anything. He thinks it out. About the only word I can think of Mr. McDonald really is the one word. He knows how to ascertain the situation, just like yourselves up there on the counter. Mr. McDonald will not give you an immediate response until he thinks it out. And that I admire in him. Based upon my own background, we don't always jump the gun. I've worked in the East Coast with Redstone International, a big company in the East Coast. The Akron stores out of California, which is an import-export business. And I've worked with banks and finance companies. So the thing is, putting all those experiences I have in judging people, I have the utmost respect for Mr. McDonald and in his decision factor, and I can always depend on him. Whenever I need an answer in something, he would always call me up and give me an answer later. I'm a veteran, and I'm also a retired businessman. I've produced shows on Guam, and I had Polynesian dancers and dance classes and what have you. And I belong to the All-Stars Incorporated, Hawaii All-Stars in Hawaii. I brought entertainers in. But the one thing with Mr. McDonald, comparing to what I've met with other people, locally, as a Guamanian and a local person, he's one of the true last remnants, I guess, of the older crowd, my age group. So whatever he says, he'll do it. Other than that, based upon yourselves up there, you're young, you got years to come yet. You're good looking, beautiful, and knowledgeable. So for your own selves up there, I congratulate you also. But consider Mr. McDonald the same way, but an older version. Okay? Thank you very much. I have to get back to the farm now. I can't sit and stand and wait for your critique. But si Zeus Masi.
Si Zeus Masi, Mr. Ziblan.
Thank you.
And I also just want to take an opportunity to thank all everybody here in the public hearing room this morning. I know it's been a long agenda, and I appreciate you sticking it out with us and waiting. And so thank you very much for your support. Mr. Earl Garrido, if he's still here, or Miss Mimi Santos. Hafide.
Hafide. Manana Sitzoos. My name is Mimi Santos. We are the Jungle Bed and Breakfast of Totu. I'm here with my husband in support of Bill McDonald, our friend. We've worked with Bill at the Micronesia Fair and last year's FestPac. We've done this for several years, the Micronesia Fair with Guam Farm and Ranchers. I would say that Bill has enthusiasm, and he has wisdom, and he shares that wisdom with the younger ones, and he has humility. I think with these three, they're a powerful combination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If any of my colleagues have any questions for those on the panel, Vice Speaker? Okay. Any questions, Mr. Espadon? If no questions, we'd like to ask for the nominee to please, you can have a seat. And if Mr. William McDonald can please have a seat in front of the panel, we'd like to invite him at this time. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Laguarnia. Sure. Mr. Laguarnia, and then also Mr. McDonald, if you can have a seat with him as well. Thank you. Si Zeus Masi, Mr. Laguarnia, please proceed.
Hafade, Manelu za Manenaho. Si Rano Tenorio Laguanyazo. The Gaigizo, Guini, dot como Lancero, Guagualo, Zan Pescador. Husupoti, ima apuntannya, Estitzeluta, si William McDonald, para esta na posisyon. O nanayam zu mensahe, gini sincero, na corazon ho, na pataangok ko este na tauto, kumutanay in este na puesto. O disesya loki na on supporti, so naigwi chansa, sa oportunidad, sa janging wahak question, por hafana asunto, faisin mismo iprohimo, mga may kungo gininotso siya at tautawis. Janging waduda, faisin agwe. Lo entonces, babementia na umatungwam dan si Bill kinini co-op dan gitutuhon niya no anay sumiyay dos dan si defunto Ben Pangilinan anay ma-fort i-farmers co-op gaya zu gia ancestral lands na komisyon za matus Bill za manggago tonu 70 acres giginagaw niya dahil ko naganadza amigo na niya para office na ko para office ti na niya para co-op kasi zigi na mentalo loki si Senador Ben Pangilinan za magay giningwidza na pumusibli esti i-co-op za gwi na tempo anay gwidza gumehilulu i-co-op di batya hapatitutsui edzo za pumusibli imakaluho niya edzo na lihing. Dibat dia citsonya za fafatitsu ang ukujan jan sincero para iman guagwalo jan iman lansero. Guina tempo kumikisa na o gikowap za manapasyo 25 pesos za kana para beholoma gwilo anay molumo gi atrasalzo za mahatsa para 100 pesos. Likofta mano no bio. Afana siga mahatsa zu za pesa ko hafasti diyon lugar diyon na mamaput pagui para iman lansero ni hami ni bebindi galay mommy jan afa gwinahan mommy pes piafana no biafta mano no na para na lamaput para iman gwagwalo debi diyon na lasafu jon na lamolik jon na lalibiano para siya bago hungo pago na 100 pesos para un membro pues necesita un naserbi money order dan certified check. Hongi zo manelo bula mangwagwalo gi hujung niti man lodji man mangi man manaitai. Edza tiningunia para mangwalo za mabendi za matsula ikebli mismo isalapya gi kanainia. Tapi pago para fanspia money order dan certified check. Si Bill itseluta gini hahasu todo na para iman gwagwalo. Munga mana maput fiasangan. Inya celuran ajuda iman tautauta. Gaigi kurasonnya giman tautauta, gaigi kurasonnya para itanota. Jani minauli itanota. Sa mami loki gi soil on water conservation. Umami loki talo gi amut, jika siya iman tautau gagat gi amut. Maulik si Bill gini sesu manajuda manarnai abisu. Tapos gini neno tibe mana apma mesti bena Canada. Signora Secretary Bisco Lee, Signor Will, Signor Mansenador, todos samjugan na hulo. Por favor, support ti STCC bill gi ST na tsotso sa angukujan sa sinya anafa on facing hana gatu on facing mismo support ti imapontanya si bill si Diyos masi.
Diyos masi, Mr. Laguatnia. I also was asked to read this letter into the record in support of Mr. Bill McDonald. Buenas, Honorable Chairperson Régine Bisco-Lee and members of the committee. I provide this letter in support for Mr. Bill McDonald, a nominee for the position of Director of the Guam Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I have known Mr. McDonald for almost 10 years in his capacity as President and member of the Guam Farmers Cooperative from my work with the Pacific Center for Economic Initiatives. My interactions with him have been based on building our island's economy through support of our local farmers and other small business producers. He helped to leverage support to successfully launch the Buy Local program marketing educational campaign. Mr. McDonald is a strong advocate for a better Guam. He possesses good character and a willingness to work with local experts and stakeholders to strengthen planning and data needs across all sectors. More importantly, he understands the value of tapping resources and expertise from Guam's flagship university to provide relevant solutions for our island. It is my hope that you will favorably consider Mr. McDonald's appointment, and should you require any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Signed respectfully, Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez from the University of Guam. And at this time, if there are no other oral testimony, we'd like to invite Mr. William McDonald to make a statement at this time. To just Masi.
Hi, Santama. Thank you, Madam Chair. the rest of you senators, honorable senators, for giving me this opportunity. Right there? Okay. Whew. Thank you very much for this opportunity to allow me to come before you. When Governor Calvo appointed me, oh, wait a minute. I want to make something clear for you, senators, that the initial C in my the initial in my middle name C does not stand for Calvo. It stands for Charles, and it's Charles Henry McDonald. Okay? Just want to make that clear. Yes, I did ask the governor for a job. Because I needed it. Ma'am, this is the first job I had after 11 years, paid, salaried. Oh, I tried to be a farmer those 11 years. And it's damn hard the way the system works right now. That was, I guess, that drove me, because I didn't sympathize with them. I empathize, meaning I feel that the system right now does not support the farmer's consistency that it needs to feed his family. The regular income that he needs to pay his electric bill, water bill, the kids' needs, so that's why, you know, it was easy for me to move on. Can I just take my glasses off now? It's so fogged up that right now I just can't see. It's all blurred, so it makes me easier to speak because I can't see your face. But whoa. The problem we had when I went through the initially, well, like these guys said, you know, the deliverance, you know, you give me a problem. I am the TQM, Total Quality Management, whatever you want to call me. I went through it, I facilitated, I lived it. I mean, you know, if you guys ever, well, TQM is a proven methodology for corporation, or actually it's a task-orientated methodology from the founders from Texas. This is the methodology that the U.S. government, yes, implemented on Japan after the World War II to bring it back into sustainability, because Japan's an island. So they forced it, well, not forced it, but, well, actually they forced it on the Japanese to take this methodology and grow economically, structure, and all that. So remember Japan, right after the war, that anything made from Japan is, what do you call it, brittle, it's not strong. But throughout the years, the American government said, hey, use this methodology, and it just went on. Now it's one of the, I guess, top 5 economic powers of the world. And it's through the methodology, TQM. And that's why the Navy, the DOD, yes, Will, I got to stand back, relax, and regroup. Excuse me. So anyway, you know how Japan is right now, how powerful they are. Back to being a farmer. Alongside the marketing that we tried to do, it was just unreal, the obstacles that we had to go through. One example that really just bothers me, one Saturday, some hotel in Truman calls up and he says, Mr. McDonald, I need some pepino. And I said, okay, how many pounds? 40 pounds. I said, shoot, dude, 40 pounds, $1 a pound, $40. Now, my farmer is from Inarajan. I know he has pepino, but to have him deliver pepino down from Inarajan to Truman for $40? I mean, I said, well, okay, too close. Relax. Sense it? Oh, okay. So I call Brian Don Guerrero, okay? He one of the most successful farmers in Guam. College graduate, yet he chose the farming industry. Hard worker. One of those guys that tried to raise a family as a farmer. And like I said, this one incident just kind of, damn it, Bill. I called him up. Brian. Well, anyway, back to this hotel. I said, buddy, you want pepino? You're going to have to get 100 pounds. Because the guy that's coming down is from Inarajan, and $40 ain't enough. So, I guess he sold what I'm trying to get. Brian said, okay, you sure, $100? $1 a pound? I said, yeah, Brian, 100 pounds, $1 a pound, $100. Thank you. Okay, I'll do it Sunday. He calls me up Sunday afternoon. He said, and I'm quoting, okay, so excuse my language. Diablo Bill, I came down there, and he said he doesn't need it anymore. Because somebody came and offered him 75 cents instead of $1. The system sucks. PJ, this is my baby. Hmm? You know who's my favorite baby? My favorite baby is her. Because I only have one baby girl. All the others are older. Oops. So I went back to, well, you know, at this time we're working, well, always, when the co-op started marketing, we went to IDI. Shauna and her group. If it wasn't for them, ma'am, because we don't have a home. You know, the market that the farmers, the facility up there wasn't completed. And this is where Senator Ben Pangilinan came in. Because I did go to Senator Ben in the beginning of my presidency. And mind you guys that I retired. My career was in electronics, federal government. It was one of those, if I tell you I have to kill you, what I know, what, never mind. I mean, I have a red passport, and they keep it to prevent me from getting out of the country. I can't even go to Palau, the Philippines, when I was out to. But anyway, that's 45 years old, come to Guam. All I wanted to do was play golf 3 times a week, go down to the family farm, and just relax. And at that time, well, we were always close to Carl Gutierrez. And we kind of just forced, well, that's when Pat and I met. Oliva, the earlier testimony about, but anyway, okay. But back to this thing about.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Mr. McDonald. Would it be possible for us, we just want to make sure that we, I know a number of senators have other appointments later today, so we just want to make sure that they have the opportunity to ask questions. Yes.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. So actually, I have a number of questions for you, and I want to thank you again for coming earlier this week to my office to meet with me and answer some of those questions in preparation for today's hearing. But I want to give the other members of the committee an opportunity to also ask you questions. So, sure, go ahead.
Real quickly, ma'am.
Sure.
I got some, as I journey through my career, I just want to make a quick flash through that kind of form, you know, my team, my mentor, and early on, John Ping, smart enough to qualify for Annapolis, smart enough to decline Annapolis because of the years you need to spend there. Mind over matter with him. It helped me out right now of trying to control my emotions, my fury with Senator Bill. Step back, relax. That's to John Payne with his zint and I don't know what else. Breathe long and deep. Benny Sibio. I've been with this guy throughout my career. His sons are Andrew, Rick, you guys know them. This guy has been amazing guy. Took me in under swing for play golf. My way of, I guess, relieving the pressures that I go through. Miss you, Ben. Miracles, I believe in miracles. Tommy Carlson, mentor, shipyard. My daughter, my youngest daughter from my first marriage, she's my professional student. Was at a mall in one of her, I guess she was selling something. Met up with this guy, Carlson. And what's the chances of them meeting, you know? Sacramento, my daughter from Guam, and my daughter just came by and says, hey, sir, do you want to look at this thing? I guess my daughter had a Guam sticker or something, and this guy recognized it, and he says, hey, I know one guy from Guam, Bill McDonald. And of course my daughter says, how did you know my daughter? I mean, how did you know my dad? He said, what? My dad used to work at Mare Island Naval Shipyard. So the guy says, what's your dad's number? I don't know, I think it was me, because I was so, this guy meant a lot to me, but anyway, I called him up and he said, make it short, he says, well, what's your biggest problem now, Mac? I said, well, my two daughters are down there in Sacramento and they can't live together because one wants to play music all night, party all night, the other one wants to study, and to the point where the one that wants to study says, Dad, look at this, listen to this, Dad, look, Dad, listen. So anyway, I said, that one, Tommy, and the only thing I can do is, I guess, give them separate apartments. He looked at me, and he said, Bill, you can afford it. You can afford it with a salary. And I said, damn, Tommy, here we go again. Anyway, ma'am, thank you. Ben Pangilinan, Senator Ben Pangilinan, damn smart man. He was always giving, for the farmer, a chance to start. Quickly, he's got one on me. Of course, he didn't want, for whatever reason, he didn't want slaughterhouse in the premise, and I said, fine, Ben. But one thing, he's got me. We were working on the 7-year plan where after 7 years we had to start paying rent. So he said, you have to. I said, yes, I have. I know we have to, but make it real simple, you know. Okay, kiss it. He says, okay, gross revenue. Senators, I borrowed books and everything, and I tried to find out what gross revenue is. And I'm still looking for a definite definition of what gross revenue is. From one book to another, but anyway, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Before I need to make one more last pitch, okay? And this is Plan B, and this is TQM again, okay? No culture. No culture without agriculture. Remember that. Culture is within the people, right? And if you can't feed them right, they all die. I forgot what was the name, Ponce Pilot right up in Plateau. One of the reasons why they didn't exist, they died out, is because they can't feed them. So please, if you guys don't confirm me, check on my second, no culture without agriculture. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. Acting Speaker Terlahi, if you have any questions. Oh, sure. Senator Régine.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. McDonald, and to your daughter there, and to the family that are here. Certainly, it's heartwarming to listen to some of your comments about the challenges of being a farmer. And I know you went back to being a farming but since 2006, so I want to just say this much. You have my support for your nomination to the position. listening very intently to a lot of the people who provided oral testimony and reading some of the written comments with regards to your appointment speaks volumes about your ability to be able to manage a particular program or a particular entity. So certainly I'm putting heavy reliance on that. The only thing I ask Mr. McDonald is that you don't lose your passion and your love for farming, and that you please continue to be a champion for our farmers, because the challenges that you continue to experience up until this very day with the farming activities, we need that insight to understand how we from this part of our government can be able to formulate policies or to work with the agencies so that it would make it easier for our farmers out there in the community. Because we want to retain our farmers who are doing an excellent job at this point, but we also want to encourage other farmers to enter the industry. And the only way we're going to do that is if we listen to comments and perspectives that you just shared with us this morning, and that we take that and try to improve the system, because the system / the government should never be an impediment to the development or the growth of an industry, and in this case, agriculture. So I'm asking you to please continue to be a champion for farming in spite of moving over to the Bureau of Statistics and Plans and conducting your services or providing your services to our people. So thank you very much again, and I look forward to voting on your nomination. This is Masi.
Thank you, Senator Uggan. Senator Atta?
Thank you very much. Mr. McDonald, I was looking through your packet, and I think I noticed that I guess you worked about 28 years for the civil service, correct? And I found it notable that towards the tail end of that career, you actually spent the time and the effort to earn your associate's degree. And I think that's commendable, because usually towards the end of the career, people are thinking about, finding that corner to roll up their lazy boy and whatnot. And you did otherwise. I like the fact that you've had conservationist involvement for over a dozen years. And so I think that's very important. But what I would like to know from you is, since the time that you've spent up at the Bureau of Planning, from the time that you got appointed to today, what is your assessment of the agency in terms of its needs? And the Bureau of Statistics and Plans is a very important organization. Any master plans that the agencies develop have to go through the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Your agency turns around and makes its recommendations to the governor prior to its coming down to the legislature for final approval. So, in your own words, can you maybe enlighten me on what's your assessment of the agency, and how do you propose to addressing some of the maybe the shortcomings and the challenges that the agency has?
The short time that I'm at the agency, less than 3 weeks. I haven't had my first paycheck. So that is short. I find it amazing that here I am, less than 3 weeks, and I'm here in front of you guys trying to, but I got you guys. I've been working with those agencies under conservationists over 10 years. Okay, so I know a couple of the sections. Bureau of Statistics, Albert, and I have been working together for over 10 years, which is statistics. When we were doing the substitute in the early years working with IDI, what we wanted to do was where is that term? you compare import versus local price, and we don't want to substitute the whole import because we're still working on the consistency of the supply. You know, that's what we look for, consistency of supply. The demand is there, you know, because we have to feed 3,200 people, visitors, every day, the tourists. So that's what we're looking for. Well, anyway, we're trying to compare prices. And one of the things that really came up was, that I can remember, was looking for cucumber. What does it take to import a cucumber? And then substitute it with our local. I think the cucumber was coming in at $1.89, I think. And here we are in Guam selling it for $1. So Shauna and I bumped heads, you know, and hey, Bill, you know, we're losing money from buying from local. I said, Shauna, 20 cents? I'm sorry, Shauna. Okay? IDI. And I said, yeah, you guys are spending more on local, but it tastes better. It's fresher. So that 20 cents is not that much. So I needed to go to Albert to do that, to get me the import because it's a corporate privilege, I guess, or what. Nobody wants to tell anybody what it costs them to buy anything. So the only way I can get it was through Bureau of Statistics. Albert. Sorry, Albert, I didn't want to. Bureau of Statistics, or whatever they are. And the reason I couldn't get it out was because they clumped it up. Cucumber was clumped up with, I think, greens or beans. I mean, you guys look, when we first started out, and he was one of my supporters, Senator Spaldon. Remember that, Senator? You and I trying to craft a bill with BSP. Long time, buddy, right? Senator. Spent many hours with him, too. So, this little time, it's not little time, I've been there before. Now, we go over to the other side, the difference, okay, we got that, right? Statistics. We went over to mapping. When I came into mapping up in Sinahanya, and I saw this printer out there, and a layout of the island of Guam, the first thing I asked them, the Roki and Jesse and Roki up there, was, I got a model up at UOG that Professor Galabi built under the Sea Grant. I don't know if you guys remember that development in Pago Bay. Anyway, from that development incident, the group came up, and then Jason Bix came up with the Sea Grant. Okay? So anyway, he built this model of Guam. It was raw, but it was a image or anyway, it didn't match up. It wasn't scale. So when I came to the mapping section, you know, I explained what I said. I want this model at university, live, but scale. I've been working with that project for years. I even approached Speaker Wampat on it. How can we make that model be a tool for the, what do you call that, land commission development? You know, where they're the permitting to, what happens when you build a development, what happens in the environment? You know, if we build this area, do we disrupt the natural flow? Do we disrupt, or what do you call it? The watershed, in this case, the watershed down at Ugam and all that. So anyway, I took these guys just last Friday, Roki, and I showed him the model up there, and he says, yes, Bill, it's a doable one. And we wanted to make it an official tool for the developers or the, what do you call them? What's that commission? The Guam Lands Commission, right? The permitting and all that. Yeah, it's a tool. Okay, thank you. We're going to develop it as a tool for their. Just yesterday when we had the meeting, Central. Hey, help me out. I mean, Senator Castro, can you help me out? Data collection, centralize it. Yeah, they haven't done that. Yesterday's meeting, Department of Ag was doing a study on the preserves. EOG was doing studies on the preserve also. And nobody knows, I mean, they can't put it together so somebody can use it. So yesterday at our meeting, I said, guys, can you centralize it? We'll handle it. That's our job, you know.
Okay, all right.
So, Senator,
okay, I think you've answered my question.
Answered?
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Senator Espadon.
Madam Chair, I do not have a question, but I do have a comment.
Okay.
Mr. McDonald, I'm going to call you Bill because we have known each other a long time. And I know what you bring, and I think a lot of people have spoken to your abilities and capabilities. My comment to you, Bill, at this time is, even though you've spoken to the hardships of farming and some of the difficulties you've encountered along the way, I also have known you really when you were at the soil conservation arena. You went out and educated yourself in terms of going to the various meetings abroad, the seminars, to really bring back that information and how it could best benefit our island. You've always spoken very passionately with me on the various issues concerning our conservation efforts on this island. What a lot of people have today about you and the letters that they presented really speaks to perhaps your drive. And even Senator Ada mentioned it, you know, in terms of you haven't given up just yet. My comment to you today, Bill, is that I have always trusted you. You've always been very straight with me. Whether it was a positive reaction to what I've said or whether it was negative, you were always very straightforward. The point I'm making to you today is that you are being nominated to be the director of this very important agency. And what I'm going to ask of you is that you bring all the qualities that you do have. I understand the hardships that are coming from farming. I farmed for X amount of years myself, and I realize the hardships. And when that phase of my life, that career of my life ended, and I had to jump into a whole different career path, there were some adjustments I had to make. And I believe that's going to be the case for you here. Only because when you're a farmer, there are so many things that you depend on, which is essentially really just within yourself. All the external factors, the markets, the competitors, and all that stuff, it was not. It was part of being a farmer. But really, half of it was really just your own internal fortitude as a farmer and your faith that things will happen, right? The rain will fall, the sun will shine, and that your crops will produce. But it's a very real aspect of life. My comment to you, to get to the point, is that what you need to do going forward, and I do have faith in your abilities, because you have many abilities. There are a lot of people who have already left. This room was full before, earlier. And these are all people who believe in your capabilities. The governor believes in your capabilities, right? I believe in your capabilities. What I'm trying to say is you need to bring your best now. We're into this game. I'm a little bit younger than you. We graduated from the same alma mater. right? But your name has resonated for a long time. And because of your capabilities, what you need to do, Bill, is now proudly wear the hat of the director of the Bureau of Statistics and Planning. Take your people over there, address the situations and the mission that the Bureau has, which is really to kind of take a look at the creation of land use planning and in the interest of and apply it to the potential development that's going on, and really make the best for our island. And I believe that your background in soil conservation, in farming, and the interests of the local people play well into this position. But now it's time to wear a different hat. You no longer have to wear that hat where you have all the dust and the mud on it. Now it's time to step up as a director and really do that job just as well as you've done all other jobs. All the experiences of the past, whether they were highs or whether they were lows, right, really brings you to this very moment. And you take all those highs and you take all those lows and group it as part of the character that you are now, part of your character that you are now, and bring all the best that you have to this position. I believe everybody in this room came here to support you. Many of us, if not all of us here, support you. My message is, right, bring your best. This is the end game. I look at my life, Bill, I'm on the end stage. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel as I leave this earth. You and I are kind of in that same neighborhood. This is not the time to slow down. This is the time to really give it our best, because through the years we have accumulated experience. We have accumulated emotional highs and lows and strengths and weaknesses. But with that all said, now you can tie it all up and end our lives, right? And I'm not saying it's going to be within the short time that you're going to serve, but really time to step up and use all the blessings that we have, that you've had through all your experiences, to lead this department in the best interest of our island. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Espadon. Senator Castro?
Day, Mr. McDonald. Just looking forward to this morning. And ever since I met you, you've presented yourself in a very humble way, but it's evident that you're quite the visionary. Your reach goes back to having helped form the Farmers Co-op with the late Speaker Ben Pangilinan. And I understand from Manny you had a hand in the Fishermen's Co-op. You're hands-on, you're a practitioner. You're a gentleman who understands natural resources. You live it. I mean, it was very obvious. You're very passionate about it. You talk it. And you definitely open your heart and your pocketbook to those within that arena, to use the senator's term. You're obviously experienced in the areas of planning and interagency collaboration. And to your earlier point, I didn't want to jump in the middle of your statement, but yes, we have talked about interagency collaboration between the natural resource managers as recent as yesterday. And yes, I appreciated your input about the need for a centralized repository, a sort of a big data, if you want to call it that, so that the government of Guam can make more well-informed decisions. And this is something that the Bureau had actually initiated prior to your arrival, and I'm glad that it's going to be, on your lap and on your desk, so to speak, to take action. You have a very capable team. You have a very capable deputy director who's right behind you in support of your leadership. But I also want to part with this by letting my colleagues know in the 34th Guam Legislature, who are here on my left and right, that as the former BSP director and confirmed, if there's one thing that moves me about you, aside from all the other letters, it was this one piece by Mr. Kenneth Pangilinan about, that speaks to the one thing that's been so consistent about you, Bill, is that you're passionate. You're a man of the people. And I'm happy they have a practitioner and a man of the people at the helm of what is arguably the most sophisticated agency in this entire government. And I'll leave you with this, Director, that the people of Guam can never go wrong when you put them as your true north. whenever making those hard decisions. So thank you for accepting it. Thank you for being so passionate. And I'm comforted and I'm encouraged. And I know my bureau will be in good hands, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Vice Speaker Chalahi.
Thank you very much. Mr. McDonald, thank you very much for your testimony, and everyone for being here and for your testimony in support of Mr. McDonald. It's very true. I think we all agree that your heart is with the people. You have many different skills that are going to be very valuable in this position, and that are proven. Like Manny Dueñas said, leadership. You've got leadership skills. You've got the soil and conservation expertise over all these years. You've got civil service expertise, and I didn't know you were classified information specialist either. But also, you know the real hardship that the people are facing and that they need solutions. And I am very hopeful that, it's your passion, as Senator Castro spoke of, and as Senator Espaldon spoke of, that your passion, and you're going to be able to bring all these skills together, because it's a sobering job, really, that you are being nominated for. It's the Bureau of Statistics and Plans it is a permitting agency. So you are the one that we are looking for to protect our coastal regions, the shorelines, and Pago Bay development went through there to get approval also. So I think NOAA falls under your department. So all those huge grants. And if I could just read very quickly this list of duties that the Bureau of Statistics and Plans is signed. It is to apply for and accept federal grants. And I think NOAA is huge. NOAA by itself is huge enough probably to have, just to manage that, it's huge. Of course, you have to do contracting. You have to conduct or cause to be conducted investigations, studies, surveys, research and analysis related to the physical, human, social, and economic development of Guam, and publish the results thereof. I mean, just that one duty is like 5 duties in and of itself, yes. Develop and recommend territorial policies to foster and promote improvement of planning activity and development quality. To review, appraise, and make such use as it sees fit of all existing plans. So planning it's big, and planning, you're going to need the skills of everyone involved at your agency, and I hope that you found them all up to the task, and that you're able to really demand of them what you need to get this job accomplished. Data bank, reporting, of course, of all of this. Conducting the census, right, is another one of these huge projects. And compiling all kinds of data for the government of Guam, for use of the government of Guam. Some of this data is confidential, right? So maybe you are, those skills are going to come into play in the government of Guam. But they describe this position as, for the director, as shall be a person who, as a result of training, experience, and attainments, is exceptionally well qualified to analyze and interpret development trends and information of all kinds, to appraise and coordinate planning programs, and supervise the execution of the responsibilities of the Bureau and the Planning Council. And of course, with hopefully much expertise within the different divisions that you have there. So I wish you the best. I think it's a really huge task. I think if your department supports you, and you demand of them what you need and get them, like I love the example that you gave to Senator Atta about your meeting the other day, and how you asked them to put the plans together or their studies together, because that is exactly what the government needs. It's exactly what we struggle with every year, year after year after year. We just can't seem to get these agencies coordinated enough to give us something that we can actually use. And we need to be able to use these things as soon as possible. So I appreciate your efforts, and I'm just going to encourage you to be demanding, because we need it as soon as possible. You know the hardships that people are facing, and the faster we can get all the information available to us, the better we will be able to make decisions on behalf of the people, the better everyone on Guam will be able to make decisions on behalf of the people, and to plan and to prosper. So, and I thank you for stepping up to this nomination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And thank you very much, Mr. McDonald, for accepting the Governor's nomination for this position. Like the Vice Speaker mentioned, it is a very challenging agency. There are a lot of different issues that are going to be under your purview, and we're really looking to you to lead all of those different sectors and to be able to get the best information out to the people of Guam. We're really depending on you to get us that information so that we can make sound policy decisions across the government. And so that's really, really important. We did have an opportunity to speak earlier this week, and so I was able to ask you some of these questions, and I just wanted to have your answers for the record. The Director of Plans and Statistics must analyze and interpret development trends and information of all kinds, like the Vice Speaker noted, to appraise and coordinate planning programs and supervise the execution of the responsibilities of the Bureau. You will be translating data into information that we can use to plan out our island's future. How has your experience prepared you to lead this office?
To lead the office in our economic development, structure, more structures on the island. I'm a firm believer on our resources, in my resources. In this particular question, I will go with, well, my personally, I'm going to use the classified workers, like, you know, those guys that are there right now. And what was their standard procedure? What they were using last time to help the director move on? And I'll go over that. And then, of course, I have my vision. And like I said, we went up there to UOG last Friday to see this model, to use that model as a template, or not a template, actually it's a reality because it's scale. It's all part of this interagency, using the data, putting it together, and then we move forward with it. Economic development will be GEDA, structure will be DPW, waterworks, power. I mean, we just need to put it together and move forward with it. You know what I'm, you know, gathering your resources and moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. There have been many plans developed for Guam over the years. Part of the responsibilities of the Bureau is to appraise these plans that have already been developed and ensure consistency with other plans in the government. Is there a strategy in place to compile and review all of these plans on Guam, or to update Guam's comprehensive development plan?
Is there any plans?
Is there a strategy in place to compile and review all the plans?
Sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The trip I took to UOG with Roki, the mapping person up there, that's a start. The model up there is going to be a scale model of Guam. Life, meaning that if you put a development here, it's going to show in the scale. It's life. Okay? Future plans can be imposed throughout, you know, future plans imposed on the map. What do you call that, Senator Castro?
Thank you. So I don't expect you in 3 weeks to know exactly all the details of the Guam 2065, but if you remember yesterday, we talked briefly about the integrated planning. And you know, one of the benefits, acting director, of having a deputy is you just get to look back and tag him and have him come to the table. I'm just kidding. He's referring, Madam Chair, to the Guam 2065 and some of those subservient plans. There are 8 master plans, Director, that your staff will be briefing you on. I know that
Right.
2 of your key staff are off island, and the other division chief is preparing your packet material for the briefing. But if that's what you're asking me, it would be the Guam 2065 comprehensive planning strategy.
Yeah, but I think more anything else, her question was concerning the effects of the future development versus, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, to your prior question, I was asking the good chair here if you know, of course I'm biased to the Bureau and of course in support of your confirmation, if I could tag and jump in there, but you know, in your humility, you didn't highlight your leadership role as the president of the Farmers Co-op. And also in your humility, you didn't brag about how you helped to put together the Micronesian Island Fair and that financial package that's needed to float that. These things just don't happen out of the graciousness of one's heart. Financial resources are dedicated, and those are one of the qualities, again, Director, that I admire about you, is your humility. But if your portfolio, and if we have more time, you know, was any testimony to your ability to lead based on your experiences, I'd say that more than meets the mark.
Thank you. Just a few more questions. I wanted to ask how, with regard to the Guam 2065 comprehensive plan and strategy and what you've relayed to us, how can we incorporate innovation to meet the mission of BSP? So innovation and technology to meet the mission of BSP.
Back again to that model up there. This model is, you know what virtual reality is, right? You know, you impose. Ma'am, this is not virtual. This is real life model. So, you know, we're going beyond, we're taking the technology we have to scale the island of Guam and put it into real life. Okay, so yes, you know, that's part of
okay, thank you.
You know what I mean.
If I could just add, also, Madam Chair, his clearly stated need for the Bureau to have a central repository of data. That actually, I'm happy you brought that up at the working session yesterday, and I'm happy you somewhat touched on it today, because actually, to my discredit, we didn't actually formalize or crystallize that plan, and you see a clear need for that, and so I want to encourage you to act on that. I think, in my humble opinion, if you pursued that vision of yours for a central repository, that's how you can find that nexus for all the 8 master plans that will reside and be maintained by your Bureau, well, in this case our Bureau, so that the people of Guam could properly discharge of that data.
Thank you both. And again, I want to just thank your friends and family who were able to make it out today, and for all of the people who submitted testimony on your behalf. Mr. McDonald, you know I raised this with you in our meeting, and I explained that this would be part of the committee's consideration since it was submitted. So I want to provide you an opportunity to respond for the committee members that you're seeking the support of. The committee has received copies of a court order in which you were a defendant pertaining to your removal, and in the court documents pertaining to you, quote, not making financial information available to other board members, not taking care of tax issues, and generally not managing the Farmers Cooperative Association of Guam properly, end quote. Full copies of these court documents will be included in the committee report along with written testimony in support of you. But what can you say today to the committee and for the record regarding these issues raised? What would you say to community members who after reviewing these documents, may have a concern about the legislature confirming you for this leadership position at the Bureau of Statistics and Plans.
Okay, so the question is, no financial disclosure?
No.
I'm sorry.
So the court documents will be part of our committee report.
Right.
So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to maybe explain the situation or talk a little bit about the court case and just, in defense of yourself and in support of your nomination.
The court case. Ma'am, to be truthful, I don't know the details of the court findings or their, what do you call that, charges. As far as the financial disclosure, as you, in front of you, we have Joseph Pereira testimony. Okay. Do you want me to read this out, or do you want me to read that out?
That's up to you. So I'm just
But
responding to
the complaint from your committee, or that somebody complained to your committee.
Yeah, no. So there was court documents that were submitted to the committee pertaining to you, quote, not making financial information available to other board members of FCAG, not taking care of tax issues, and not managing the cooperative properly.
I understand that, ma'am. But the question to you, like I said, when I went through when they summoned me, the only thing that was up there was to stop me from calling myself the president. And I told him, I said, I'm not the one who's elected me. It's my board members that elected me. Okay? So, these accusations, is it true on the court documents that I did?
Mr. McDonald, may I jump in, Director?
Yeah, please.
I've seen this. I've seen this in my path as well, and I want to just assure you that you have every possible chance to respond to what's been said today. And if you're not sure, I will go with you. No, but Mr. Director, let me just advise you that I want to make sure that you have full opportunity to address this, because I've seen this before where things have been dropped in front of me, and without the opportunity to properly respond, certain allegations and people make misstatements and misrepresentations of my past. And I assure you and everybody in this room that I will not allow that to happen without the full extent of the law afforded to you. So I will get with the chairperson who's doing her due diligence, and since it's going to be made a matter of public record, I will have my staff on that, and we will print it and go over it together so that you're afforded equal opportunity to address anybody who's brought such charges against you.
Thank you, Senator Castro, but can I just go to real short?
Sure. No, this is something that we discussed earlier this week.
Right.
And I told you that I'd be asking this question, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to respond.
Sure. Thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you.
But like I said, that phase of my life, when the judgment came out, okay, I had no financial penalty imposed on me, okay? So that means whatever they complained about wasn't significantly enough for the judge to render any financial penalties, fines, or whatever they are. But I didn't take anything out of my pocket and say, Judge, here it is. Nothing. Second thing, no restraining order from the judge. Okay? What does that mean? In fact, he invited me, encouraged me to get $100 and pay for this co-op. So what does that mean? I am not corrosive, I'm not poison to the association, the Farmers Co-op. And the judge saw that. I mean, he's a smart man, right? He's a judge. So he knows that I'm not corrosive or abrasive or disruptive to the association. He didn't give me a restraining order. Just don't say, I am the president. Well, ma'am, April 11th is the Farmers Co-op election. And board members are up for 4 of them. Okay? I like to let the people decide what they want. You know, I'm for democracy. You know, the majority rules. Just like our nation here was built on that premise that everybody has a right to vote, everybody has due process. Oh, Bill, calm down. You know what I mean, ma'am? The judge said, Mr. McDonald, you can go back to the Farmers Co-op if the people want you to join them. And I'm letting those people have that opportunity April 11th.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to everyone who's provided testimony, who has taken time out of their busy schedules to come and join us today. With regard to democracy, it's really important, and the only way that our system works is when people participate. So again, I really appreciate everybody participating in today's hearing. Sejus maasi todos hanzu put fabot I finatan midzu pagu. The Committee on Innovation and Economic, Workforce and Youth Development has duly heard Bill 31-34 COR and the appointments of Ms. Gia B. Ramos to serve as a member of the Guam Economic Development Authority's Board of Directors, and Mr. William C. McDonald to serve as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. This hearing is now adjourned. The time is 12:03 p.m. Sejus maasi.
Thank you.